podcasts.
Welcome to the Games Explained podcast, where we talk about board games and we talk about hairstyles in those board games. We're your hosts,
Dan,
Ben,
and Matt. 3 syllables of fun for 3 callbacks to episode 1.
And there's the first callback. Just wait in anticipation for the other 2 throughout this episode.
So our format is we're each going to talk about a game that we've been enjoying lately, and then we'll have a big topic. Today's topic is Dexterity Games. Ooh, so you can wait for that. It's a little tease there.
Nice.
Got him.
I played Ticket to Ride the other day.
Oh, tell us about.
You guys ever heard about that one?
I have heard about that.
I have the Europe one.
Yeah, I just played the vanilla one, and the cards are so teeny tiny.
They're pretty small.
They are like, I could like close my fist and have it hidden in my hand, and you wouldn't know. They're so small.
The color cards or the route cards?
Both, or at least the version I have.
Yeah, same.
What?
They're like half-size cards.
Oh my!
They're so tiny. Anyway, Ticket to Ride is just a solid good game. Like it's I don't know. I enjoy it. I guess I should describe it because I'm assuming that everybody knows it, but maybe not everybody knows it. You have a map of some area of the world. There's many versions now, but I played the vanilla one, which is like the States, and there's a couple of Canadian cities in there too. Shout out Winnipeg and Sault Ste. Marie or whatever.
What?
Wait,
Where is that?
I don't know. But that's one of the cities in Ticket to Ride. Sioux spelt like Sault. Did I say that right even?
Salt?
Sault Ste. Marie?
Sue? Sue?
I don't know the answer to that. But there you go, guys. Enjoy that. And in Ticket to Ride, you have tickets.
And you ride?
And you ride on tickets the whole game. Well, there's 2 ways to make points. One way is to just make connections between cities, and to do that, you need to have the right amount of cards. So there's, it shows the certain number of cards that you need to make the connection between a city and another. Anywhere between 1 and 6 train cars that you need, and you have to have a matching set of that many colors of cards by drawing from the deck to make that connection. And the longer the connection, the more points you get exponentially. So like it takes a longer time to plan for and prepare for a longer track, but you get more points. But that's not the main way you get points in Ticket to Ride. You get points by completing routes that you get from the tickets that you get from the beginning of the game, and if you choose to spend your turn later on getting more tickets, then you can get more tickets to do other routes too. So you could have tickets are worth different amounts of points. The big ones are like 20 some points to go like across the country, and then the smaller ones where you just go like 2 or 3 cities over, and it's like 6 or 7 or 8 points or something like that. And so you're trying to make these connections and not get cut off by your opponents as you're going across the country. And you feel like you're hanging out in the 1800s and just living life to the full, you know?
Can I tell you a strategy I have for that game?
I'm ready.
I know Matt's strategy.
Oh no. Here's strategy A,
Okay.
which is you complete the shortest routes you possibly can at the start, and then spend the rest of the game putting your pieces on the smallest routes possible so that other people cannot put their pieces on those small routes.
It's a brutal strategy.
So you get something done and sabotage everybody else. Like a true train baron would.
My strategy is almost the polar opposite. I take the longest route of the original routes because the game starts with you drawing 3 routes and you have to keep at least 2 of them.
You got it.
Or you can keep all 3.
Yeah.
So I'll typically keep the 2 biggest ones, or at least the 2 that overlap the most, so that I can make them just one route. So then I'll complete that route, and then I'll just keep putting down the biggest chunks in between that I can.
Oh.
So because people are saving up for those big chunks, and then I put down something, I'm like, and then that ruins their plans. I'm like, okay, I have to find this other alternate route that goes around somewhere else.
That's not better than me morally.
No, not really. But part of the side benefit there is that typically those long routes I can add on to the end of my route, so it looks like I'm still continuing my route. And there's also bonus points at the end for having the longest route.
That's right.
And by getting the longest chunks, it means that I can put the most cars down as fast as possible. So typically I'm the one with my cars done first, which ends the game.
That sounds like a good strategy.
I must say I have never once played offensively in a game of Ticket to Ride.
I only get offensive if I've finished my routes and I never pick up extra routes.
You never pick up extra routes?
I have in the past, but I find it's never advantageous.
I'm a huge fan of the final round pick a routes and hope you already have one complete.
Absolutely, I love that.
Love it.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
It's the gambit.
Mm-hmm.
Good games have good risk rewards. Like great games are ones where you can have the biggest risk that you want, and the reward will just keep getting bigger. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
The game that I've played recently is Powergrid. Yeah, I got it for Christmas and finally got it opened a couple weeks ago and got to play it. It's pretty good. It's a little intimidating looking at the rulebook. It's one of those, there's a lot of facets to it. But there's, you play through several rounds of the game, or just like there's I think 4 or 5 different phases to each round, and so once you've played through a couple rounds, then you've got kind of a pretty good hang of it, and then you end up going through like, I don't know, 15 or 20 rounds to get to the full game. So the premise of the game is that you are playing in this world. You're a bunch of different power companies. Each player is a power company, and you're trying to build your power company to supply power to as many cities as possible. And so you're every turn there are cards available in front of you that represent different power generators. So you might have a coal plant or solar or wind power or nuclear or like I said, coal, oil, garbage,
burn that.
So yeah, there's all these different things, and you can buy these different power plants, but you can only have 3 power plants at a time. So you have to try and maximize the ones that you can get. It also has a really cool supply and demand mechanic in it. So at the beginning of the game, there's a certain number of oil, coal, garbage, and nuclear fuel sources available, and the number that are currently on the board affect the price. So as you buy them, the price goes up.
Right, like as they become scarcer.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're doing oil and your neighbor's doing oil, then you probably don't want to get into the oil game because you know it's going to be super expensive when it comes for you to buy oil. So you want to try and diversify your power plants based on what other people have.
That's real smart.
Yeah. And
also what I like about that game is that you get into bidding wars with the power plants that you can buy. Like the first phase is buying new power plants for your company, and then you can just bluff with people and raise the price of some crappy plant that that they want and you are not going to get.
Yep.
But you can convince them that you want it, and then you raise the price like twice what it was worth, and then make them buy it anyway. Oh.
Mm-hmm. I did not realize there was a bluffing component to that game until just now.
Definitely is.
It's so good.
Ooh.
Like the only times I've ever played that game really are with people who are so hardcore that they have like in their minds they know exactly the strategy, like they've the time tested strategy that they've always done. I need to buy this power plant. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. I know it's cost 15. I'm gonna spend 28, 29, 33, 34, and it's like something else is way cheaper and more efficient, but they need their coal plant or whatever.
Yeah, that is incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah. Something that I found interesting when I was playing it was it felt in some ways very similar to Monopoly, but actually good. Like it has the element of like in some ways it's like very surface level like Monopoly, because you have a bank with a bunch of paper bills that you cut out that have been cut out and you hand out to start the game, and you use that to buy your properties, and then you augment those properties by buying the resources that then sit on the properties that you use to spend and generate electricity. So like it's got a lot of those mechanics that are in Monopoly. The counter to that is there's no player elimination. Rather than a roll of the dice, which affects only you, the randomness in the game is which cards get flipped over, and that affects everybody. And there's a mechanic that keeps that randomness kind of reined in. So rather than having some good cards flipped over right at the beginning and some simple cards flipped over, the good cards being ones that you can't actually afford yet, what happens is you put I don't know what the rule is for different numbers of people, but you have 2 rows of cards essentially. So the 4 cheapest cards are the ones that you're actually able to buy, and then as you buy a card, it comes out of that selection and you replace it with something else, and you rearrange them so that the 4 cheapest cards are the half of the cards that are the cheapest are the ones you can actually buy. So the expensive cards just sit there waiting for you to bubble up.
Yeah.
Which balances out that randomness quite a bit. And so, yeah, I just found it interesting that it was, it is a fairly different game. Like, you're not moving around a map and you don't have tokens and that are like representative tokens, but it still has a lot of those same core mechanics and done in a good way, which is
Seems
fun.
like a pretty intelligently designed game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Powergrid, you say?
Yeah. It's also cool that it's got a double-sided game board. So it's got Germany on one side and the US on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
So you can actually like change up how it works. And if you're playing with fewer than the maximum number of people, then you block off certain states or provinces or whatever on the board. So you can actually block off different ones for different games. So you can play with the same people on the same country, but still have a different board each time. So
Cool.
yeah.
Tight. A game I've played kind of recently is Rook.
Yeah.
Have you played Rook?
Yes, I have.
I feel like I have, but I can't actually remember how it works.
Rook is a game from the past, invented
Most
before
games
I
are from
was.
the past.
It's from the now. No, it's Rook. It's a game for 4 players. That's a variant I'll talk about. And it fascinates me because... I'll just explain it. So it's a trick-taking game, which means everyone puts down a card, and whoever had the best card gets that hand, and they get a point. And you bid how many points you think you can get before everyone runs out of cards. So everyone has 7 cards or something, and so there are going to be 7 rounds, and you have to predict, based on the hand you got at the beginning, how many cards you think you can get. The trick is, the person with the best bid gets to choose which color of card or which suit is the most valuable or the most powerful.
As in, they choose the trump.
That's
suit.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they'll say it's diamonds, which means diamonds are now more powerful than everything. So the game, so you have to say, I would do best if I got my way. But then, and here's the part that makes Rook excellent, you pick a card, and whoever has that card is your partner.
Oh, interesting.
At that point, one person in the room knows who is on everyone else's team, and no one else knows. They either know if I am not the leader and I have the card, I know I have all the information. If I'm not the leader and I don't have the card, I know one person that I'm against, but these other 2, I don't know who's on my team and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the person who chose the card, you're in power. You have 3 randoms, and hopefully one plays that card soon, so you know that you can team up with them. So you have this like hidden ally that you don't even know who it is.
That's cool.
And you can pick a card that you have and just take all the points for yourself.
Yeah, if you're really confident.
Oh, that's so fun. I don't know any other game with that, like, I've been on your team this whole time. Love it.
It's really good. And like when you throw out for example, if you decide that your partner is going to have the most powerful trump card that you don't have, you decide that they're going to do that, and then you throw it like a really small trump card that gives points, and you're like, please show me that card, and then nobody plays it, and your mind is blown. You're like, what? Who is not telling me, like, if somebody's taking these points away from you? You're like, who is it? And you're just paranoid the whole game. It's so good.
That was the reveal moment.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
didn't you reveal?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Then the other interesting thing is that the Rook card is always the suit that is trump, but is like the lowest.
Yeah,
in
that's how
that
I've played as well.
suit. So, yeah, I guess there's a lot of different ways to play Rook, but like it's worth lots of points, but it's always like any trump will beat it, but it is also a trump, so it will beat anything other than a trump. So it's like it's a weird card to figure out how to play properly, and it makes it a fun game.
I love it,
Yeah.
man. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Rook. So that's my game of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
It has a name now.
Game of the cast.
Game of the cast. So my friend works at a radio station, and he said whenever they have, I think, 4 seconds or more of dead air, an alarm goes off in the studio, and people sprint to try to fix the problem. 4 seconds of dead air.
Is this hyperbole?
This is real.
An alarm goes off.
It goes wah, until like people are like going through the hallways, and there's this button that's like play the next thing. So someone had put it in manual mode, I guess, and just took off. And they have a system that's like, hey, we had 4 seconds of nothing. This is a problem. And then someone's just got to like run in and hit a button. Interesting.
Yeah.
If my workplace had an alarm, if there were 4 seconds of silence, it would be going off the whole time.
No kidding.
So today's main topic is dexterity games. If you're not familiar with the term, it's any game where the main challenge is something you physically do that is somewhat skill-based. So do you have to stack things carefully, and that's the game? Or do you have to put your hands on colored circles and contort your body? Dexterity games.
Who would come up with a game like that?
I just made it up on the spot.
Nice.
Let's call it Hurricane.
Yes.
So we were coming up with a bunch of different games beforehand. This topic just kind of came out of our list of things we've thought about in the past, and we were like, I don't know if there's that many games, but as we were brainstorming, we came up with like a huge list of these things. So I'm going to look at my list and start talking about them.
Yes.
One that I remember us having growing up that was super fun was called Siege Pirate Battle Game.
Wait. Siege?
Pirate Battle Game.
Siege Pirate. Is it Siege dash Pirate?
It was Siege in big letters, and then underneath it, Pirate Battle Game.
Oh yeah.
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 It was super fun. Basically the way that this game worked is you had some islands that you were defending, and on these islands you could put some cannons, and then you also had like this big 3D pirate ship that you could put around your island as well and put cannons on it. And then you had some actual firing cannons, like firing with springs and rubber bands. Cannons and mortars that you could use to shoot at your opponents.
What did
setup.
they shoot? Like little marbles or
Little,
something?
little
plastic,
plastic
yeah.
marble sized things.
That is so fun.
And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to take out their like shields and cannons and whatever. And if you hit those, or if you hit like the ship's mast or whatever, those were all rigged up to rubber bands. And so if you hit them at just the right force or the right angle, then they would like shoot up out of the stands.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
Yeah, it was super satisfying to play this game.
So did you like position them exactly where you want and tilt them, and then you just hit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like the tank video game, but a board game.
Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah. It was super cool.
It was very fun. There were two like marble based board games I remember us having, and one of them is called Rebound. And it's if I
sort of
remember
like two-player
properly,
pinball.
it was like,
Or no,
I think it was like
it was like curling.
like curling, but you have to bank your shot around a corner that is rigged up with a rubber band, so it like bounces around the corner.
So it was shaped like a curling rink, but it had a hairpin bend in the middle. So it went forward, hit a 45-degree rubber band, hit another 45-degree rubber band, and then came back.
Did you have what was it? Pucks with a marble in the middle. Oh, I saw that game.
Yeah.
A friend had that game.
I remember. That was a good one. And then there was another one. It was a Star Wars game where you have, you have an X-wing that has a spring-loaded launcher in it, and then you set a marble underneath of it, and you position it somewhere along the Death Star trench, and there are little TIE fighters set up, and you have to try and launch it into the duct or whatever to blow it up. But then you also get to shoot all these TIE fighters out of the way too. Yeah, just like random shooting things with marble games. It's pretty fun. So good.
That is incredible. Oh, here's a game of old Monster Mash. Oh, I'm going to describe this game for you with a single sound. Hold on, it's going to be 2 sounds.
Oh man, this game looks pretty great.
That sums up the experience of this game. So you have this spinner, which has 3 alien parts.
There's like a head and the body and the feet kind of thing.
Yeah, and you spin it, and it will randomly arrange them. So there's 3 options of 3 each. And you let go, and it picks one. And for each combination, a card exists face up on the table. And your goal is to use this thwacker, which is a long plastic spatula with a suction cup on the end that's hand-shaped. And you have to thwack the card and get it to stick to your suction cup before the other people.
That is so
excellent.
silly.
So what happens is it goes like this, and then you hear thwack, 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 thwack. I got it! Oh, I got it! And it's tremendous fun, and I play it with adults.
It's like the same kind of hecticness as spoons when the spoon thing comes up, and you all have to go for the same thing.
Oh, tell me about spoons.
Except you have a spoons is a dexterity game of sorts.
It's like
for sure.
old maid, but you get to fight.
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that. So what do you have to do? You have like a set of cards, and you have to try and get a grouping of 4 of them, like or something like that. You have to get all 4s in your hand or whatever, and you just take a card and pass it, and then get a card from the other direction. And once you have all the same, then you sneak a spoon from the middle, or you make a big show of it, or whatever.
Or you pretend to take a spoon from the middle and then don't.
And then freak everyone out. Or you can play like by the nasty rules where you're allowed to like grab the stack and throw it in the air.
So as soon as someone has grabbed a spoon, the last person to grab a spoon is out. Because it's like musical chairs, there aren't enough spoons.
Right. Okay.
And so that's why there's fighting.
Yes.
We played, I was a camp counselor, and we played just the staff. So we were at one end of the chapel. There were no chairs set up, and you would grab all of the spoons and throw them to the other end of the room. And we had a rule that it wasn't the first few people to pick up a spoon, but it was to successfully bring a spoon back to the stage.
So there's lots of fighting going on the way back.
So much fighting. Tremendous fun. Not actually recommended, but tremendous fun.
That is awesome. Jenga is an obvious example.
Oh, Jenga.
Yeah.
What's
If you don't know what Jenga is, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You push a block from a tower of blocks and put it on the tower of blocks. Best game.
Best Jenga.
I feel like I heard the other day that the rules for Jenga are less strict or something than most people expect. Like most people, they'll take a block out and then they'll put it on top. But when they do that, they'll still line it up with the other blocks. But are you maybe allowed to put it however you want on top of the pile?
I'm assuming still horizontal, or can you just peek it?
I'm not sure.
I can safely say I've never read a Jenga rulebook before in my
me
entire
neither.
life.
I heard the other day that there was a weird rule, and I can't remember what it was, but it might have been that. So let's just say it is.
Yeah,
And that's how I'm going to play it from now on.
sounds good to me.
Yeah. Let's make up house rules for Jenga. My house rule for Jenga was you take each block and you put it upright in a line, and then you push one over so that they all fall. That's how I played Jenga.
Yeah, that's a good version.
Called
I like
it
that one.
kinetic Jenga.
Because it wasn't kinetic before.
Okay, these are all like a lot of the, especially the first few examples that we gave, well, Jenga 2 are older games.
Mm-hmm.
But one game that I played last year at some point that is super fun, I don't know if you guys have heard of, is called Junk Art.
I have not heard of this game.
Junk art.
It's so good. I just thought of it like a minute ago here. So what it is it's a box that contains a bunch of random wooden shapes, like fat cylinders, long skinny cylinders, little half circles, dumbbell looking things, bricks, squares, all kinds of just random wooden cutouts. And they have them in I think 4 different colors. So the same shapes in 4 different colors or something like this. And basically there are 10 different variants of how to play a game using these blocks that this box comes with. And so the idea of the game is that you randomly draw 3 different variants from this stack, and or however many cards from the stack, and the person who wins the most points, you get a certain amount of points for getting first place and second place and third place in each of these different game variants, and then by the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. So the different variants are things like this: build the highest tower without it falling over.
Ever.
Yes.
But
there's so then I think there's the consistent thing. I've only played this game 1 or 2 different evenings, so I'm gonna try my best to remember and not butcher the explanation of the rules. But there's a deck of cards, and when you flip over a card, it reveals the color and shape of one of those cutout pieces. So you always start with a solid cube shaped black starting base that you place all your pieces on top of. That you need to keep all of your pieces on top of it. And so I draw a card and I flip it over, and it's this sphere with a flat bottom. So then that's the next piece I need to put down on my structure. And then I flip another one, and it's this potted plant looking thing. Okay, I can put that on top of this sphere and sort of hold it in place.
So is everyone, you flip a card and everyone has to do that thing?
You take turns. So I get this shape, and I have to put this shape in.
So you're contributing to one statue in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have my own statue. Susie has her own statue. Billy has his own statue.
Everyone's statue has a different composition because
and
they're
we
drawing
have
different
this
cards.
and we have this pool of pieces in the middle that we're drawing these random cards from, and okay, now I have to put this shape that I've drawn on here. And then you get to this certain point, and it's so that's one of the variants is tallest tower. Another one of the modes of the game is where each player you get dealt a hand of 3 cards. The cards also have numbers on them, and I think they relate to how difficult it is to stack them together. So the rounded edged pieces are higher up on this list, for example, and then the more blocky ones where you can just sort of stack them on top of each other have lower numbers. And then in this variant, you each pick a card from your 3 and put it face down in the middle of the table, and then you flip them over at the same time once everyone is picked. And then if I have played the card with like the highest number, for example, then I get to give somebody one of the face down cards first, and I force them to put that piece in their building, and then it's just like a last tower standing thing instead of the highest tower. So then I'm forcing you to put this piece that doesn't fit well in your tower onto your thing. There's more game modes than that. I can't remember all of them, but they're super good, and it's like all these fun tactile wooden pieces. And
what was that game called?
It's called Junk Art.
Junk Art.
Very cool.
And it is tons of fun. I really enjoy it. It's a pricey game, but I think for what you get for it, it's worth it. It's so good.
Well, I'm going to talk about a Manitoba classic here. Crokinole.
Ooh.
Oh, Crokinole. Also older than I am. It's imagine a 3-foot diameter octagon with a trough around the edge and a circle inscribed in the middle that's raised, and then a hole in the very middle about 1.5 inches diameter, and you have little pucks, and you get to flick them with your fingernail until it bruises or bleeds, and you try to get into the center. And
there's also a ring of pegs sticking out of that circle, kind of guarding that hole in the middle.
So there's different point values depending on where your pieces go, and it's kind of like curling if you took just the circle at the end and made it small enough to put on a table, and people sat around it and shot from every side instead of all from the same side.
Yes.
And you flick it.
Yeah.
I have bruised my fingernails on that. I probably have permanent damage from playing Crokinole.
I think you're flicking from too far away. You got to have your nail like against it and build up the pressure, so you're not transferring as much.
You don't get that impact.
Exactly.
You just get
You got to accelerate with the puck.
Is that allowed?
So I don't know. I don't play very often.
Also expensive, but worth it for what you get.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it's a 3-foot diameter octagon.
Yeah.
When you bring it to a party, it's like it's your whole trunk.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. You can just go steal a stop sign if you want a 3-foot diameter octagon.
A huge, like one of the huge stop signs that they have on truck routes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
We don't condone stealing. Please don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I do have a stop sign at my house, though.
What?
As far as I know, it's legal. It was given to me as a gift.
Is that the part that makes it legal?
I'm pretty sure it was like bought from like a place that recycles decommissioned ones. Like it is damaged and stuff. So
we do condone legally purchasing stop signs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So please do that.
Yep. Another fun dexterity game that kind of maybe dates us a little bit specifically, Pogs.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else remember Pogs?
Pogs.
Such a good game.
Yes.
I remember there were smashers?
Slammers.
Yeah.
So you had a bunch of these cardboard discs. That's all they were, was discs of cardboard.
Were they cardboard?
They were definitely cardboard. And then the slammers were sometimes plastic, sometimes metal. Those ones, I don't think were ever cardboard ones. And like there were various rules about, you know, what was illegal for your grade school.
Wait, so you'd have them all like face down in a big stack?
Yeah, you'd have one big stack of all these discs, and then you'd throw your slammer on the top of the disc, or top of the pile of discs, and something to do with however many flew off the pile and landed face up or something. Those are the ones that you collected, and whoever collected the most won. And in a lot of schools, it became such that you'd play for keeps because these were collectible discs of cardboard.
Yeah, I remember they would like all the hot new films at the theater would be handing them out at the door or something, or like they'd be like promotional material for something.
Yeah, I remember going to the museum, and their gift store had like ones with ducks on it and stuff. So,
yeah,
I got those.
It was crazy variety of these things. Everybody had Pogs because it was so easy to make your own. Like it was just like it's a circle that's whatever diameter, and hey, you made a Pog.
So if you have your Pog collection, hang on to that. It's going to be worth millions.
Definitely. I still got
that's
mine,
not-
I think.
I'm in the presence of a millionaire.
I had special Pog tubes to hold on my Pogs.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Like a Pringles can or what?
Yeah, pretty much a Pringles can that's just 1.5 inches in diameter or whatever.
So what kind of dexterity game doesn't exist that should exist?
Well, I love the idea of playing for keeps. As a child, that would have been the most horrific idea. Like, you have a thing and someone's going to take it. But now as an adult, I'm just tickled by the idea of your collection just being fluid with the community. That sounds wonderful. So maybe branded Jenga blocks.
Playing keepsies with Jenga. That's so good. So everybody has to contribute like a third. Like if you play with 3 people, a third of the Jenga blocks.
Yeah,
for
one
this
block
Jenga
per row.
set.
Yeah.
There's got to be like regulation size Jenga.
Yeah.
And which
You've got like hollowed out some of your bricks from one side so they're off weight.
And whichever one you take out and get on top, that's what you keep. So you're motivated to go for like the rare ones, even though it's in a trickier spot. We just invented a game.
There you go.
Gotta stack them all.
I'm sure that game would not go the way of the Pog.
I don't believe you, but I do thank you for saying so.
I also do really like, those physics trajectory games like that Siege game. And I feel like it maybe some combination between that and some sort of Jenga type game where someone's building a tower and you have to try and take down the tower as it's being built. Or you have to build the strongest tower to try and prevent this onslaught of airborne plastic pellets.
Well, that could be like in junk art where there's different objectives for different depending on the variant you're playing. There should be Jenga variants where like now I need to construct it in such a way that it can withstand a cannon shot from this angle, or I need to construct it in such a way that it's like as wide as possible somewhere above the base, like 4 blocks up or something.
I wonder if you could play just with an elastic band and a piece of paper that you fold it enough times that it becomes that like little wedge.
The football shaped triangle thing.
Yeah, and just like people can pelt as many as they want and you have to build it as high as you can until it tips over, and that's your score. We could play the game right now. I don't have Jenga. We can't play
custom Jenga blocks.
Oh yeah, Jenga for keeps. Limited edition. Because it has to be, because you have to have artificial.
Because we'll be sued by the time we call it Jenga.
We'll call it Jenga.
There you go.
Janky.
Sounds about right.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, it's the dead air alarm.
With dexterity games, like it seems like it's just something that's so much more open-ended than a lot of other board games. Like with traditional board games, you have pieces, maybe you have some sort of currency or cards or dice, and maybe you have a board that you move around on. But like that's kind of the realm of most board games. And dexterity games seems like there's so much more possibility for variety. It's hard to think of just things to combine to make interesting experiences, like the Monster Mash where you're slapping down these suction cups in the card. Like what else would do that? Like that's such a crazy mechanic, and it's just so open you almost don't have enough restriction to make something cohesive. It's kind of crazy.
You can combine currency from a board game with a dexterity game, so you can, instead of using plastic marble things to shoot at other cannons, you can use like glass marbles or metal marbles.
Oh yeah, so you pay to
your
upgrade
currency.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can buy like
DLC.
Yeah. Or as part of it, you have in-game currency and you buy like a certain amount of ammo, or you like different ammo at different prices, or you can buy heavier bricks to build your wall stronger, and
or it's got RPG mechanics. where your marble levels up over time, and you have different stats, which are like things you can attach to it that make it heavier.
Yeah.
We could also like combine, dexterity elements to more traditional games, like a game like Pandemic, where
Shout out Pandemic.
Maybe what you're doing is, rather than outbreaks happening based on what cards are being drawn, outbreaks are happening based on whether or not like some projectile hits a pile of things and knocks things away, or cities get infected by just you throw it up in the air, and whatever city it lands on, that's what gets infected or something.
Or you go to flip the card over. I forget. It's been so long since I played Pandemic, but you go to flip over the card that you have to do at the end of the round, and you have to like stick your hand inside of a box, and randomly something will go down and like dab you with some ink or something, and if it hits you, then you get infected, and then and you have to be wary of the fact that it might randomly infect you, and that's the dexterity portion of Pandemic.
And then it's a test to see whether or not you remember to wash your hands before playing the game and infecting everyone else.
Yeah.
You could take any game that has a random element and just make it a skill element instead. Like any game where you roll dice, just put a dartboard up.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh, yeah. That's actually such a good idea.
So what if you were playing Monopoly, but instead of rolling the dice each turn, you would have a dartboard? So you could, if you're 2 away from community chest, or if you're right near boardwalk and whatever, and someone else has got hotels on them, you better be shooting straight. Like you have an opportunity to choose your fate.
There's also the opportunity that we could, come up with a dexterity element, a skill element that is thematic to the game, whereas the die wouldn't be thematic. So I don't know, for Monopoly, I don't know. Trying to think of a good example that's thematic for Monopoly. It's real estate, and it's also driving around an area. I guess you're not all cars. You're not technically all driving, but
you have to play 1 round of Need for Speed, and the millisecond result of your score is the die roll.
Yeah.
Dexterity games. What a good time! Lots of childhood games. Lots of games from the past, a couple games from the future. Just kidding, the recent past. It's a callback joke.
Future.
Yeah, we're making those games for the future.
Oh yeah, our future ideas. Well, thanks for tuning in. We're Games Explained. Come next time, we're going to be talking about speed games.
Games that can be done in 5 seconds or less.
Classics.
So good. Huge variety. Looking forward to it. We'll see you then.